Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 89 of our trip around the United States. Today is our last day in Minnesota. It's been a great couple of weeks here in the state, but alas, it's time to move on. We're headed for North Dakota today. We're starting off here in the city of Baudette. We've got a brand new virtual we're gonna go after, and we're gonna take just a little bit of time to go explore the city and get a few geocaches from here. After that, we've got a handful of pages and a handful of counties left as we weave our way through 270 miles from here to North Dakota. When we get to Gilby, we're gonna stop, and we're gonna have all day to spend in Gilby tomorrow. If you know, you know. If you don't, I guess you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow to find out why we're gonna be in Gilby. If yesterday is any indication, we're expecting a lot more woods and a lot more lakes and not a whole heck of a lot else, because we really only have traditionals on the list beside this one virtual we're starting and one virtual right before we cross into North Dakota today. We know we're gonna make it to North Dakota. That's a guaranteed thing by the end of the day because the timing is great, the miles are short, and the weather is in our favor. Let's hope it stays this way. So let's see what the very last day of Minnesota has in store. Come on, let's go. Things kicked off this morning getting the fisheye from Willie Walleye, the 40-foot, 2.5-ton ambassador for Lake of the Woods. Since 1959, he's been representing the walleye capital of the world for Baudette. With a population of only around 1,000, this little town hosts quite a variety of murals and interesting sights to see, not to mention great geocache finds scattered around town. At the border crossing to Canada, you can find the rest area in Peace Park. This is right along the banks of the Baudette River where it meets the Rainy River. As an added bonus to our short tour of this town, there is also a new virtual posted in front of the VFW Post 723. This gave us all the excuse we needed to pop over for a visit and check the place out for ourselves. This may be a small town, but it's well worth a visit. Our first find of the day. And not one that I would expect. It's a little early for me to be using this much brain power, but I still managed to figure this thing out. Not everything is always as it seems in the game of geocaching. That one's a doozy, huh? That's a good camo job right there. Something tells me today's gonna be a good day of geocaching. Mag. We were having so much fun with great camouflage jobs this morning that we decided to grab a couple extra even though we didn't need to. The favorite points on this listing told me it was probably going to be another good hide. And it sure was. Look at that camo hidden right inside of the log. We did not have any hikes planned today, but by the time we made it to the city of Roseau, the dog had made it pretty clear that she was ready for a walk. Fortunately, the city maintains 12 miles of recreational trails, 4.5 of which fall along the Eastern Diversion Flood Control Project. We enjoyed a walk out and made it as far as we could before it became clear it was ATV only beyond that point. Luckily, that was far enough to satisfy her anyway. Grygla, with a population of around 200, is the biggest town of its size. I spent the entirety of my time in Grygla trying to figure out what exactly the biggest town of its size means. Boasting a population of around 9,000, Thief River Falls was the biggest town we actually visited today. I found the name of this place very unique, so had to look it up. It originated back when a band of Dakota Indians had occupied a secret encampment along the river. Hence, they were stealing the land before they were discovered and routed away. We were able to find a few geocaches here before stopping to grab lunch, one of the only places we had to grab some warm food along our route for the day. And it's also been quite a while since we've seen a Veterans Memorial, so we were very excited to discover that Thief River Falls hosted a good one right in the middle of their downtown area. As we pushed steadily west along our route from there, the land began to slowly transition. The forest that we had been seeing throughout the state began to thin into smaller and smaller clumps of trees. And grasslands became the dominant feature, making it clear that we were making our way out of Minnesota and into the Dakotas. I did it. I finally did it. After 3 months on the road, I finally found a working, operational telephone. This is Amazing. That's a real dial tone right there. Can you believe it? Yeah, man. I guess since we're here, we're actually gonna do what we came to do. I got distracted by the telephone. Let's find this geocache. Fortunately, this one's very easy. Nothing to it. Seriously though. Located within Kittson County, Carlstadt is known as the moose capital of the North. And with a population of only around 700, it's entirely possible that there are more moose here than there are people. Despite its small size, this town has a city park that could literally fit every resident in town and still have room to spare. It's a beautiful greenscape that you can tell is obviously very well maintained. And they also have a very large playground that once again could probably host every child in town with room to spare. For our very last stop in the furthest northwest corner of Minnesota, we dropped in on the small town of Halleck. A mere 20 miles from the Canadian border, it is a tiny town with expansive views. They say that there's room here to create anything you want, and it seems that that is exactly what they did. Everywhere that we went in town, there was a new mural to see painted along the side of a building. We would turn into an alleyway, and there's another new mural just waiting for us to check out. The town's slogan is that things are clearer up here, and nothing seemed clearer than what this town represented as we looked at all the different artworks. There's abundant access to the outdoors here, and many of the activities that people come here to enjoy include wildlife, night sky viewing, snowmobiling, cross-country skiing, boating, canoeing, kayaking, hunting, fishing, and birding. Not to mention, great geocaching. Another telephone. Let's go give this one a try too. Nope, this one does not work. I left favorite points on just about every geocache I found within town. They were all very well designed and very well done. Many of them included libraries and little free libraries like this one seen here. This is definitely one of the better books that I've seen inside of a free library. And with quite a bit of swag to trade too. A combo, huh? I think I know this answer from one of my all-time favorite movies. It comes in pints? Yet another awesome find. Originally, we'd only intended to find one, maybe two geocaches in town before getting on our way to North Dakota. But we ended up spending well over an hour here between looking at all the sights to see and all the great geocaches. What a great send-off to the state. Kittson County, page 90. This is to be our last geocache find in Minnesota, and then we're heading on our way to North Dakota from here. Looks like this one's a bit of a field puzzle. Let's have a look. Oh, I see. It's quite literally a puzzle. Okay, let's put this thing together. Well, this was definitely a fun cache to end Minnesota with. Big fan of puzzles, big fan of Marvel, big fan of geocaching, so it all kind of lines up. Goodbye, Minnesota. There is no mistaking it when you leave Minnesota and start the drive into North Dakota. The trees have now all but disappeared, and it's grassland and farmland as far as we can see in every direction. Welcome to North Dakota. And it was actually quite the welcome because we stopped for our very first geocache and were greeted by Big N and his friends. They were all very excited to learn about the game of geocaching and hope they get to play. Well, travelers, that's it. We completed our mission. In 2 weeks, we geocached our way through all the counties and all the DeLorme pages in the state of Minnesota. And what a journey it was. It was a beautiful state with lots of lakes, a little over 10 15,000 of them. Great waterfalls, at least in the end after it poured down on us, and a lot of good geocaches. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. That is the end of Minnesota, and in the very last geocache that we found, I happened to pick up this handy dandy Minnesota frog pin. It seemed like it was just right. I definitely noticed as we progressed westward along that last northern part of the state, it slowly started transitioning from what we were used to seeing in Minnesota and that Canada feel to what I expected out of Dakotas. And now that we're in North Dakota, this is it. This is what I remember of the Dakotas, and this is what I expect to see over the next few weeks. We'll be spending a week here in North Dakota, we'll be spending a week in South Dakota, and we'll be spending a little longer than that in Nebraska. Because while we've put in a lot of work in North Dakota and South Dakota, we still have more to go in Nebraska. For today, we're gonna go ahead and call it, go get ourselves cleaned up, and get ready for a day of fun tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour of Minnesota with us, and I hope you're looking forward to seeing the Dakotas with us as well. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.